Welcome to Elder Savvy. I am Anna Seery, the Director of Pembroke Council on Aging. The goal of Elder Savvy is to provide content-related topics from experts in the community to enhance the quality of life for our seniors. Peg Doyle is a certified holistic health coach and educator and owner of Wellness in You. She has been studying the principles of health and nutrition for over 15 years. As a passionate clinician and educator, Peg is committed to the powerful link between food and health. She understands the power of the body to heal itself when it is encouraged and supported into its natural state of balance. Peg is a speaker and consultant in the field of nutrition and lifestyle. She is a member of the National Gerontology Academic Honor and Professional Society and earned a certificate in Management of Aging Services in 2015. She has presented programs at Harvard School of Dental Medicine, Boston College, and numerous businesses and associations. Her highly acclaimed recordings, Stress Management and Beyond Cancer, are Amazon and Health Journey picks. She published her first book, Food Becomes You: Simple Steps for Lifelong Wellness, in 2014. My guest today, Peg Doyle, is here to talk about her book, Food Becomes You: Simple Steps for Lifelong Wellness. Peg is a health coach and works primarily with women over the age of 50 who are looking to improve their health so that they can enjoy many enjoyable years ahead. I just wanted to show you, this is her book. Of course, I do have it a little marked up here. Peg, welcome.
Thank you, Anna.
So before we jump into this, I just wanted to give you a few thoughts, that I had, some points that kind of stood out to me in the book, and then I'll let you explain it. One of them that I found really interesting was a reference you made to a Dr. David Katz, and it was talking about the leading causes of death, and then his thoughts on it were that people didn't die of the disease. Maybe you can fill it in better for me.
Yes, that was a really wonderful revelation to me too, Anna, when I first heard Dr. Katz talk about it. He is the chair of nutrition at Yale University, and he asked the audience, I was one of them, what we thought the leading causes of death were, and like everyone else, we said cancer, heart disease, kidney failure, lung disease, and so on. And he said they actually are not, but those are the effects of the actual causes of death. And then we had to guess, well, what could the causes of cancer, heart disease, and kidney failure be? And in thinking about it, we realized it was poor nutrition, lack of movement, unmanaged stress, smoking, so all lifestyle-related activities that led to those kinds of death. But the cancer and heart disease are not the causes, they're the result or the effect.
Okay, cause and effect, yes.
Yeah.
Another thing, as I was reading through it, your book, it's not really a diet book. Most people think that, a book, it's a lifestyle book, and, one of the benefits of it is that you can lose weight once you start making these lifestyle changes, and we'll explore those a little bit, but that kind of jumped out at me. I think midway through the book, it's like, no, well, it's not a diet. It's a lifestyle.
Right.
And the other thing that I really liked about your book is that you had a lot of anecdotal stories in it. So, the story would kind of set the point of what you were trying to talk about. And I felt like it was just a nice, easy read, but it's something that I'm going to incorporate and, follow, work with and follow. So, yeah. What prompted you to write the book? Why did you decide to write this book?
Well, there are a number of reasons. I've been doing health coaching and nutrition counseling for nearly 18 years now, and talking with a lot of individual women about their health. And most of the women who come to me are around age 50. They've been through the diet experience of losing weight, gaining weight again, and losing it and gaining it and feeling really frustrated. So they come to learn how to eat healthy so that they don't diet anymore. And health becomes more important to them as they age. You know how we grow up and sort of finally figure out that, wow, it's nice to be healthy. How can I stay that way?
Yeah.
So I really wanted a wider reach, and I thought the best way I could do that was in storytelling and practical tools for anybody who picks up the book to learn and make the changes that will make them healthy too. The other piece of it was that in my gerontology studies, it seemed that all the research was focused around what falls apart as we get older. And I think we all need tools and advice on how to stay well and to change that mindset from automatic decline to, wait a minute, I can be one of those centenarians who's doing a 20-yard dash if I really take care of myself, and I'm lucky.
Or just even living well. They don't have to do the 20-yard dash,
Right.
but you know,
Right.
yeah. So that's great. So you do, you wrote your book, but you also are a coach.
Yes, I am.
So you work individually with people and with group work also?
I do. I work individually, and I now also have a virtual program that people can do from home with their computers, and that's over a 6-week period to really get the foundation of how to eat healthy and not to be focused on dieting, but to be focused on eating well.
All right, all right. Mindset. That's a term that you use. What do you mean by mindset?
What I mean is the attitudes and opinions of how we see things. I had a fun experience this winter. I was out walking early one morning, and it was really cold, and I was all bundled up, and I passed a man who had shorts on. And as we passed and looked at each other, I smiled and I said, "Shorts?" It was 19 degrees out. And he smiled and he said, "It's all in the mind." And it really got me thinking about how we form these opinions about things, like that it's normal to have aches and pains as we get older, or it's normal to not feel our best or to be tired. And it's normal to hear that, oh, it's because you're old, when really it might be something in our lifestyle that's causing those sorts of things. So to change the mindset to, wait a minute, if I do certain changes in my life, I can really feel better. And to change that mindset about what it's like from aging to lifelong wellness.
Yeah. So in your book, how do you lay it out? You know, and I know because I've read it, but I want you to tell the folks here, you know, how can they expect it? You know, you do an overview, and then you're talking about lifestyle changes. So let's discuss some of the lifestyle changes.
So one of them that I think can really make a huge difference is to eliminate the processed foods that you might be eating. So when I say processed foods, I mean foods that come in a box, that are prepared, anything that you don't make yourself, and to replace them with simple whole foods. That would be fruits and vegetables, whole grains, really clean meat. By that I mean no hormones or antibiotics, beans, nuts, just the basic foods that used to be the only foods humans would eat. And to get away from the processed foods. That can make a huge difference because you're only processing food instead of processing chemicals along with it.
So you have, one of the things I really liked is you had a really good shopping list.
Yes.
You know, a weekly shopping list that went with, you know, a simple menu too. And I liked how it was a shopping list for one, and then you can double it for two, or as many in your household. But I think a lot of the challenges for a lot of the seniors that I know is they live alone. And so a lot of times cooking for one is a challenge, so it's just easier not to, or to eat something that's quicker. And what is your answer to that?
That's such a good point, Anna, and I've heard that from many older women. Oh, I've cooked all my life for my family, now I'm by myself, I don't want to cook. But there's a book called If the Buddha Came to Dinner, and the point of that book is to think about what you would serve if somebody really important, whether you're talking about the Buddha or a VIP of some sort, somebody very important to you, or Anna Seery, came to your house, would you give them a can of soup, or would you give them something that you picked up at the market? Absolutely not. You'd never think of that. So why do it to yourself? Yeah. But I do understand that it may be time-consuming. So one of the things I suggest is that you think about cooking more than one meal at a time, have leftovers. And even more importantly than that is make plans to eat with friends a couple of times a week. Have dinner at your house one night, dinner at someone else's house another night, and sit around the table and have that community that you have. And I know at Council on Aging, that's an integral part, is dining together. And it's a really healthy thing to do.
Yeah. We do have a congregate lunch that is brought into us through Old Colony Elder Services, and that's kind of a preset lunch. But you know, it's nice for people to be able to have a plan of what to cook and what to eat. And I found that your book really simplified that. It's not about a diet. It's not about matching foods. It's not even about portion size and measuring out like that. It's just you know, some real good, solid suggestions. So.
Thank you. I have some things on my website too, the wellnessandyou.com. Many, many recipes, and my whole approach is make it simple. Have your ingredients in your pantry for different spices and flavors, and if a recipe calls for one spice that you don't have, put another one in, something that you like. So don't stress over having a perfect recipe. Just make it something that's simple and made of whole foods. Yeah.
So, I mean, mostly your book is about eating, but what are some of the other lifestyle pieces that you incorporate into the changes that you recommend?
Well, when I look at nutrition, I look at it as part of your lifestyle. So usually when your food is in a good place, when you're eating really good quality food, you have energy, but you also have a shift in your mind. Your thinking is different when you have clear digestion. We're finding more and more in research today how important the gut is in relation to the brain. And so when your mind clears up, you start thinking, well, how am I spending my time? Is this something I do that makes me feel more alive, or is it exhausting me? Who are the people I'm spending time with? Do they have values similar to mine? Or am I feeling like I'm landing at the junk food store just because I'm with these people? So it really gets you thinking about other things. Stress is a big factor, and when people have issues around weight, that's one of the first things to look at is, how's your stress? Because when you're stressed, your body is in high alert and it won't burn calories. I don't even like to talk about the word calorie, but I'd rather talk about food, but it slows your metabolism when you're on high alert, and then you can't burn what you're eating, so you have a double issue. You have your stress and your weight.
So it's that fight or flight type.
Exactly.
So your body's reserving everything it has.
Yes.
You know, and that's that stress piece. Yeah.
Right.
Really important. Really, really important. I just want to swing back over to the disease part. You know, we hear a lot, and we talked about it quickly, cancer and heart disease being the most common killers of our seniors, our older folks, or everybody. And do you agree with that? We touched on Dr. Katz, but what are your thoughts about that?
Well, I think cancer, heart disease, and type 2 diabetes are really serious threats to older people's health. But they don't happen overnight. It's from years of mistreatment through poor nutrition, not enough exercise. But the good news is they can get better.
Right.
There's a documentary, if your audience hasn't seen it, it's called Forks Over Knives.
Oh, yes. I'm
And-
familiar with it.
Yeah, and it's just amazing how health improves when you're eating well. In this case, in Forks Over Knives, it stresses the benefits of being a vegetarian. You don't have to be an absolute vegetarian if that is not your choosing. But if you make most of your food whole grains and vegetables and fruits and nuts and seeds and beans, the changes in your health will be amazing.
Okay.
So I say don't ever give up hope. Don't assume that you can't get better, because I've seen it over and over again that when people change their food, they get better.
It's never too late.
No, it isn't.
Wow. Wow. And so over your years of coaching people, you have seen changes,
Absolutely.
improved health and energy and exercise and vigor and everything?
Yes.
Wow. Wow.
There was a woman I worked with who, when we started, was planning to have surgery on her stomach because she had acid reflux. And we talked about her lifestyle. She was a junk eater and ate very few vegetables, not much fruit, and she ate late at night and went to bed. And we know that when you do that, you haven't digested your food, you're lying down, and it increases the likelihood that you're going to have acid reflux.
Wow.
And so we changed her food, and she never had the surgery. She started feeling better, had no idea how bad she felt until she started feeling better. And it's just that food is very powerful in making us feel good or bad.
In one of your chapters, you, I think, referred to, are you a classic or are you a junker?
Yeah.
And that's kind of how you broke down two ways of eating. Do you want to explore that a little bit more?
Yes, I used cars as an analogy that we all know what happens when we don't take care of our cars before long. You know, if we don't change the oil or we put poor quality gas in, the car won't run. If we don't wash it, it will eventually rust. And so to think about that in terms of your own body, what are you putting into it day after day? What's the most of what you're putting in? Is it mostly healthy food or is it mostly junk? And that will make a difference in whether you become a classic or a junker.
Well, I think what's really challenging, too, is just the term healthy, because it's not a regulated term. So,
Right.
you know, I think people think that they're eating healthy and they're not. So what are some of your tips that can, you know, do you address that in the book? And what are some of the tips? Can we go over those to see the difference between what's healthy and what's not healthy, even though it may say it's healthy?
Sure. The simplest way is to eat things that aren't in a box.
Okay.
If you do buy something that's in a box, there are several things you should look at. One is the nutritional content of it. So it will list protein, carbohydrates, fats, and sugars. And you should know that sugar, all of these are listed in grams, and of course we don't think in terms of grams. So
Yeah.
what the heck does that even mean to most people? But what it means is every 4 grams is the equivalent of 1 teaspoon.
Okay.
So we should think in those terms. For instance, those energy drinks that are out on the market, not the Red Bull and those, but just simple things like Gatorade. If you look, it's about 30-something grams of sugar in 1 glass of that. And so we're talking 8 to 10 teaspoons of sugar.
And most of those bottles are 16 ounces, so they're really,
That's right.
so you're talking 16
Yes.
to 20 teaspoons.
Right, right. So that's the first part. The second part is to look at the ingredients. And if there's a long list of ingredients that aren't food, in other words, they're chemicalized, shortened, bromated, whatever, don't buy it. That is a highly processed food.
Okay.
Buy foods that don't have all those words on them, because they're of no nutritional value to you. They make your body work much harder, especially your liver, and it's not necessary.
Wow, wow. I'm just looking at my notes that I jotted down that I wanted to talk to you. We did talk about lifestyle being the culprit of disease. And can we expand on that a little bit more? I'm thinking about the diabetics. I listen to a lot of the folks, and they have to really, they're not only just watching the sugars, but they're watching their carbohydrates also. And do you address like eating if you're a diabetic in your book, or does that just kind of, if they switch to a healthier lifestyle, they don't even need to be worried about that because they're cutting out the sugars?
Cutting out the sugar is number one. And back in the 80s, when cardiologists decided, through their research, that fat was bad for us, many of the food manufacturers replaced fat with sugar in their products. So we had, if you look at the statistics from 1980 on up, the weight gain and rates of obesity went from about 20% to 66%, and so did the rates of diabetes, type 2 diabetes.
So there's a direct correlation between them.
Direct correlation. So sugar is very much a factor. When somebody is already in treatment for type 2 diabetes, sometimes the treatment can be very varied depending on how long they've been ill, whether it's a whole metabolic syndrome or it's just the type 2, whether they have weight issues or not. But the very first and most important thing to do is cut back on sugar and increase your vegetables. And vegetables are carbohydrates, but they're complex carbohydrates, so those are very, very good for you.
As opposed to the pasta and bread, which are
Exactly.
simple carbohydrates?
They are,
Okay.
yes.
All right. And what about sugar substitute?
I don't recommend them.
Okay.
I think that what happens if you're taking one that it doesn't have chemicals in it, it still triggers the brain that you're having something sweet, and that in turn will trigger the pancreas. So best to very much limit your sugar, have it in the form of fruit, and have small portions of it, and really keep your focus on the vegetables.
Our time is winding down. Is there some things that I haven't touched on that you want to share also?
Well, I'd like to reiterate that wherever people are on the scale of wellness, you can always get better. I'm always looking at where I'm at and how I can get better. So don't give up hope. Just keep working at it and know that you can get better when you eat better. I use the 90-10 formula where I aim toward 90% of foods being those simple whole foods that I talked about, and relaxing on the other 10.
Okay.
And that way it never feels like a diet. It is just an easy way to eat. You're not spending time on the scale. Your weight stabilizes and you feel good.
Wow, wow. So if somebody wanted to purchase your book, which I just want to, I really like the title, Food Becomes You.
Oh, thank you.
How did you pick that title?
Well, I kept saying it as I was working with people. It's like, yes, food becomes our body, becomes every cell in us. And when we think of it that way, do we want to put junk in our body? And so that just seemed like the right name for it.
Oh, and if somebody wanted to purchase one of your books, how could they go about that?
They could go to my website, wellnessandyou.com, or they could go to Amazon and just search for Food Becomes You and order it that way.
Excellent. Well, I want to thank you very much, Peg. This was great.
Thank you, Anna.
I really like your book, and I, also up here it just says A Boomer's Guide, and I think that, the seniors that are coming up now, we have a different, have been raised a little bit differently and have a different look towards foods, and our markets are even changing in the healthier foods.
Yes.
I tend to shop the outer aisle of a grocery store, and I think that that's one of the things that is most important. So I really want to thank you for joining me today.
Thank
you. Anybody that is interested, they can stop in and talk to me, and I can give them your information also. So thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you.